of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
It is, of course, a huge warm welcome to this, the latest Racehour weekend preview. We are back to shine a light on what should be literally a perler of a pre-Christmas Saturday of racing. 7 live races. I'm your host, Tom Lee, and as I say, this is the show where we shine a light on all you need to know ahead of Saturday's TV racing. 2 meetings, 7 live races, Cheltenham and Doncaster. The split. And I tell you what, it's so good. Even the fire alarm wants to have a say about it. I was going to introduce Tanya first, but since he's got a bit of musical accompaniment, I think we should bring Gary in first of all. Gary, did you just take your wallet out of your pocket, or was that the Friday morning fire alarm? We need to know the Racehour weekend preview. Welcome, by the way. Explain yourself, Gary Connolly.
Come back. We're all good now. Yeah, the weekly Friday morning fire alarm always brilliant to wake you up. So apologies for that. Good to be on the show again, and probably the last good chance to get Christmas money in. So looking forward to it.
Well, I think we should conduct a straw poll. Was that the Friday morning fire alarm at Gary's office, or indeed was it him getting his wallet out of his pocket? We'll never know. Tanya Stevenson, welcome to the Racehour weekend preview. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. So I'm really looking forward to going through these 7 races. They're absolute belters. You're really going to have to make a stance here, because some of them with shorties in short price ones, you're going to think, well, are they value or not? So we'll see. We'll see as we go through them. Yeah,
that's a fact. We've also on the line a man who was in red hot form last time I was talking to him on this very show. Welcome back to the Racehour weekend preview, Paddy Aspell.
Good morning, Tom, and good morning to all the rest of the crew. Looking forward to this, some cracking stuff. Just having a look through last night. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got a few 8 race cards that we hope will hold up hunter-wise going forward. But yeah, cracking stuff. Can't wait.
Well, it's intriguing because actually with the weather conditions that continue to not exactly, I know we had Storm Dara, but we've had a few dry days since then. There aren't millions of runners around, I think it's fair to say. The big race at Cheltenham is where we're going to start. We're not going to mess about on the fringes. We are going straight for the jugular, all 3 of you, with the big race. It is the Nye Timber December Gold Cup, in which, and this is notable, of course, they're on the new course now at Cheltenham, an 11-strong field, so it's not a maximum. The ground's going to be quick enough for this time of year, I think it's fair to say. I'm sure that's got a fair bearing on why we've got that field size. But notably, the equivalent race in November, we've got the 1, 2, 4, 5 are all back for more. They are Il Ridotto, Garlaw, Madara, and Fugitive, who, of course, won this race 12 months ago. So it's a tricky puzzle. I said prior to the show that maybe it wasn't the sexiest renewal. Certainly Tanya disagrees with me. She'll get her say in a minute. But first up, Gary, what do you like and why in the 2024 running of this Nye Timber December Gold Cup?
Yeah, it looks a very competitive field on paper. When you go on 11-2 the field. But I think there could be a standout. I think he probably will get smashed up in the betting. Madara is going to be the one for me. Skelton, probably up to his usual tricks in the Paddy Power. I thought last month he wasn't off a yard. I think he was in the stable a week, so we might give him a bye with that excuse, but he just wasn't put into the race. Travelled well and just closed the whole way to the line. That the classic never near always closing. Like he's unexposed at its sort of trip. I think most of the field have probably shown the hand, and he is probably the one improver, stepping up, and Cheek Piece has gone back on as a plus. So he'd be the one for me, and probably I'm a gluten for punishment. So one of my cliff horses, In Excelsis Deo, I think there is a big pot in him. And he just needs to learn how to jump. He just headbutts fences, but it could be the day to get him. I think he'll drift a bit double figure price, it'd be a bit of value each way. So Madara for the win in Excelsius Deo each way play.
Well, that's Madara, who's moved house more times than me recently. He's with Sophie Leach. He had a brief spell with Kieran Burke, who's an ace trainer in his own right. And of course, now he's with the Skeltons. He's a pound lower, albeit he had a £3 claimer on his back a few weeks ago. Now the main man, Harry Skelton, gets on board. I will just mention a bit of housekeeping as well. Our sponsors on the Racehour weekend preview, as ever, thanks to both Betfred and Gambling.com. And Fred, well, he's going 5-1 currently as we're recording about Gary's main tip, Madara. 10-1. He's back up in Excelsis Deo. How does that reflect on how you read this race, Tanya?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. There's a big one in Excelsius Deo, because I watched him when he unseated last time out, and that he headbutts jockeys as he does his fences, but he's so talented. He and Madara would be part of a combination forecast, but the main protagonists in that combination forecast and indeed tricast is in fact at this point the outsider of the whole field. Now, that may well be different in with Fred, but I like number 6, Sure Touch. I think it's really important that we take a look at the Grand Sefton as a whole. I mean, you say the ground is going to be quite lively, and who better to run on a quite lively ground as a horse that's potentially known as a summer horse, courtesy of winning the summer plate at Market Raisin, in going on its really upward trajectory in Sure Touch. And I think that was going to continue at Aintree, but at the same respect, I thought Sean Bowen rode an absolute cracker on Sure Touch. I disagree in the synopsis afterwards to say that Sure Touch never acted on the fences. I just think he was sort of caught flat-footed over the first 2 or 3, with King Turgeon being the most enthusiastic, excitable jumper. Couldn't wait to get to the first 3 fences and thereafter. And by the second fence, Sure Touch was already 10 or so lengths behind. Now, when you look at that at the end of the race, he was beaten 13 lengths. But by Canal Turn, he was 15 to 20 lengths behind. But he was jumping beautifully, and Sean was just sitting there. And Canal Turn's a fair way out, so you don't really go for your horse then. And when he did decide to go for the horse at the Milling Road, he reduced the deficit effortlessly to just 13 or so lengths. Since then, though, he's had the wind up, so no doubt they felt, or Sean might have mentioned, there might have been a little bit of a noise. But he did not look phased at all off that really high mark. Had it not been a King Turgeon type of horse that's galloped out in front, he would have been in contention. But Ollie Murphy's going to have no pressure. It's a wonderful place to be in. You're at the outside of the whole field. Your trainer's got a 25% strike rate this season with your chase horses, and you're just rubbing your hands together because you're on a horse that is in a wide open race, loves the ground, and jumps beautifully. If you see how he ran in the Grand Set, that's going to be really important, because you've got to be across what happens with King Turgeon. You've got Late Night Pass in the cross country, and then obviously if Sure Touch runs well, I'm going to be honing in on that 205 at Donny with Gabriel. But I love Sure Touch to give a massive run, certainly each way, certainly to win in the. It's one of those races, 11-2, the field. It must have been impossible to price up, because everyone's got a different opinion on who should be sure. And yeah, 6, 7, and 8 combination forecast.
Never knowingly undersold Tanya Stevenson. Listen, I was watching Sandown on the box the other day.
Yeah.
And I was reminiscing about all those times when you and I would be freezing in that room up above the paddock, just about to do the morning line.
Yeah.
And then I thought, yeah, but what golden times when Tanya would just wander in and go, oh, by the way, I fancy one in that 22-runner handicap, and it would win from 40-1 into 16-1 with its mouth open, with the jockey waving at the crowd, and you'd think, yeah, she does know a thing or two. And I was moaning prior to the show, saying maybe it's not the most glamorous renewal of this race. And Tanya batted it straight out the ground and said, nonsense, they can all win. And that means an opportunity for punters. A 6, 7, 8 trio, the trifecta. Absolutely magnificent stuff. Paddy, speaking about the cold, come in from it and tell us what you like for this 150 at Cheltenham.
Yeah, this is an absolute cracker. There's so many angles you could look at this race because we've got Fugitive. He's actually carrying a pound less this time round than when he got the job done last year. He's a great finder off the bridle, Fugitive, and I think if you look back through his profile, second time up is the time to get Fugitive. But you would really have to give a tip of your cap to Richard Hobson because, he's rising 10-year-old now, Fugitive, but still running to a fair level. And again, like several of these on the return, he was an eye catcher. Sean Bowen comes in for the ride this time. So they obviously think that this fella's got a very, very solid chance. That racing weight is very attractive. And I think there's going to be plenty of early pace on here. I've got Venetia's horse, Gemarond, who I thought was quite impressive. I know it's a little bit late in the day again for him. He's an 8-year-old, Gemarond, but he went with an awful lot of enthusiasm at Ascot last time. Got a lovely ride by Charlie Deutsch, who I'm pretty sure he was stood down again yesterday. I wonder if he'll be riding because, to me, I thought he got a fall of Tuxeter 2 or 3 days ago. He looked concussed. Now, he did get straight up, but safe to say he still looked pretty concussed. But he rode yesterday, was stood down again. So 2 falls in consecutive days. I do hope that whether he's riding today, but I hope he's in action tomorrow because just 10 stone 2, Gemarond, if he's on the front end here, both him and Grandeur Dom, you'd imagine they're going to make their lightweight counts here. So it's going to be a well-run race, but it is extremely hard to get away from the 5-year-old Madara here. Dan Skelton, he was quoted as saying that he knew very little really about this horse when he made his debut for the yard. Tristan Durr was in the play that day. It was a hands and heels ride. It was obvious for everyone to see. It was a learning on the job with this horse. Incredible that Sophie Leach took him to Leopardstown, in the backyard of the Irish, and he won a race there quite comfortably under James Reevely. It's been a little bit patchy since, as you mentioned, Tom. He's had a few new postcodes, hasn't he? But I like the postcode. I like the postcode he's got at the minute. Only a 5-year-old Madara. I don't think there's going to be much juice left in his price, but that profile that he's got coming into this, Harry taking over in the plate here, just 10 stone 6. You're probably not going to be getting the value you should for a horse that's not won for a little bit, but it's hard to go against him here. But really looking forward to this. There will be absolutely no hiding place. Again, you've got to give a mention to Paul Nicholls' Stage Star. Paul's horses in these type of races, they always appear to have 12-0 next to their name and carrying an awful lot of weight. But that might just be his undoing. And Il Ridotto, although the handicappers had a proper say about that performance last time, he came up the run in that day with his ears pricked the entire way. So you wonder maybe if the handicapper's in charge yet. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to jump on the train here with Madara. And I think Dan Skelton will cover a bit of ground with this horse and make plenty of use of that rating of 140.
Paddy, thank you. Well, our sponsors, Betfred, as I say, at the time of recording, 5-1 joint favourite Madara. Are we to see, as Gary suggested, that price being smashed up? And if you're looking for the value, well, listen, it won't just pay for Christmas. It will pay for your next dozen Christmases. If Tanya is again correct, the trifecta, 6 to beat, 7 and 8 in that order. Sure touch at 22-1 outsider. And don't forget as well, our sponsors, online at least, are 4 places for each way bets, which is a handy concession with only 11 set to go to post. So Madara on trend, but Sure Touch might be a lively each way player there. That's the 150, the big race. Brilliant stuff. Well, that's 1 of 7. So we will revert to type and dive around the room for some selections on the shoulder races. Good card, not loads of runners, as we've said, but nonetheless, those winners are there to be found, Gary Connolly. 225 Cheltenham. Handicap chase. This will be a good watch because they will go lickety-split, 2.5 miles a furlong. What do you like here in this 225 Cheltenham?
Yeah, 225. I just saw the sponsors, Fred, are offering top 3, 50 the odds 3 in this, which is generous of them. I'm gonna, it probably wasn't the best bit of buying business, what he paid for him, but Third Time Lucky is the one for me here, I think. He was beat out the gate last time on his debut run for Virgil O'Brien, but I thought there was a lot to like about the performance. He was 19 months off the track, travelled beautifully into it, and then he just blew up from the second last. Should be coming on a ton for that run. And he just looks a bit too well handicapped for me to let him go at the prices here. There's a bit of, it's 30-2 with Betfred is bigger about, so he looks value. I think he could be well in and should come on for that effort, so he'll do for me.
Yeah, second, albeit beaten a fair distance at the last meeting at Cheltenham. Tanya, back to you, please, for the 3 o'clock, which is a great 2. 3 miles the journey for this Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. As usual, what do you like and why?
Yeah, well, it's lovely to see Skyjack Hijack taking a chance in a Grade 2. It's well documented, obviously, in the last couple of days of his rise to fame and £41 rise in his rating as well. He was really, really impressive beating Hamsian, I thought, last time out. Sorry, not Hamsian, Zanabad, the Tony Martin Zanabad last time out at Newcastle. And I thought he was going away from him in the end again. When you look at his opposition, you've got Clondor General, who, when we saw, only time we see, beat a chaser in Autonomous Cloud, and Big John Wayne. Western Knight at the moment jumps like a table. He's so talented, Western Knight. He's like a 400-metre runner, then being told immediately you've got to jump, do 400-metre hurdles, and he just hasn't got the stride pattern right yet. He will be a top class chaser, will be Western Knight. About Damn Time, it's a case with that. Obviously, if Kevin's Pride dots up on Friday, then everyone will be honing in on About Damn Time. They know they've got a very, very good horse. Unluckily for them, this Grade 2's come up right now, or it might just be so good because he just travelled beautifully at Carlisle. Yellow Car. Now, Yellow Car is tremendous. He just wanders everywhere. He's got, and I will forgive him, Donny, because he's salt. He must go towards the front, but when he does hit the front, he wanders everywhere. You just got to restrain him. A stop loss. Interesting, this is in here. We've only seen him once, March 2023, winning a bumper. He just ran off and hung really badly, but it's nice to see him over hurdles. So, is it Skyjack Hijack versus the French horse Jet Blue, who ran a very nice race last time? He was second to a subsequent listed chase winner in France, Jet Blue, and David Cotin has obviously seen the lineup here. I just think Skyjack Hijack will just get loose again, and front runners can win, and they can just kick on and go further clear here at Cheltenham, and this will be a wonderful celebration for Jenny Candlish and the team, and deservedly so. He deserves this.
Yeah, well said, Tanya. Nice to see Jenny getting a good one as well, because she's having an excellent season as we're recording going into the weekend. Already 22 winners on the board for her and Alan O'Keefe. When she gets the ammunition, she can train them, and she's operating overall for the season, not just in the last few days, at a 20% strike rate, which is pretty meaty, I think it's fair to say. So Skyjack Hijack, possibly another good one for the Candlish team, currently priced up at 15-8. Obviously, price is subject to change, but that is the latest prices. We're talking now with Betfred. Paddy, are you a ladies' man? The reason I ask this, it is a mare's handicap hurdle to round off the card at 3:35, an extended 2.5 miles. Who's it to be?
Well, that first question that you posed, Tom, that all depends on who you ask, if I'm totally honest, about whether I'm a ladies' man or not. But this is a cracker for sure. Again, we've got to take no chances here for Dan Skelton, trying to give £7 away to the whole field here, but she's very, very solid. There's no doubt. Intriguing. Gordon Elliott bringing the undefeated Woodhoo over here. Danny Gilligan taking £3 off. Not seen her for 322 days, but she just is a winning machine. Woodhoo, but I thought there was one or two in here on a little bit of a recovery mission. The likes of Pretending, who could be the pace angle here for Gavin Sheehan and Lucy Wadham. But on her comeback return, Jayus for Nikki Henderson and Nico de Bonneville, she was an eye catcher for sure. She's an absolutely huge daughter of no risk at all. And I thought that was a more than satisfactory comeback at Ascot last time. It's just a mark. It looks a little bit of a given, Tom, that 119. There could be an awful lot of juice in that here. Carry, should I say, the first colours of JP McManus has also got Holly in here for the John Joe and John Joe Jr. team. That mark is just really, really eye-catching. If she came forward for that run, I think could take a fair bit of beating here. Again, only a 5-year-old, a few of them in the lineup here. And I wanted to give a mention to another mare here, was Molto Bene for Charlie Longsdon and Lily Pinch. And Charlie Longsdon, good winner at Warwick yesterday with him and David Bass. And although she probably lacks a fair bit of maybe the basic ability of some of the mares in opposition here, Molto Bene is extremely genuine. And I think there could definitely be a bit of wiggle room in that mark of 1:16, having had the wind up and really stuck to the task very nicely at Chepstow about 3 weeks ago. So I'd be with Nicky Henderson's Joy Usu for the win, but I think Lily Pinchin with just 10 stone 7 on Molto Bene's back, she could definitely be filling the frame here at a little bit of a juicy each way price. Plenty of runners here, but at a real good price, 16 or 15.5 grand, should I say, on offer to the winner.
Yeah, Molto Bene is going to be a nice each way price at double figure odds. And Joyeuse, well, currently priced up at 5-2 featherweight. And as you say, potentially loads to come off that kind of mark at 119. Has the handicap, but completely underestimated what she's capable of. We're going to find out at 3:35 on Saturday afternoon for Racehour weekend preview viewers. We're going to switch now to Doncaster. That's Cheltenham done and dusted. What an afternoon it's going to be there. But it's not too shabby at Doncaster, Gary Connolly, where at 2:05 live on TV is a 0-150 handicap chase over the staying trip of 3 miles. Who gets the vote?
I'm gonna swing for the fences with one here. I like Whistle in the Dark, 25-1 currently in a few spots, including Betfred. It's probably £14 below his peak, so he looks well treated if he can recapture a bit of that form. Last season, I thought he showed up very well in the Scottish National and just plainly didn't stay. Then there was probably 2 lacklustre efforts over the summer, which I can forgive him for. Ran in this race last year, probably put up a near career best effort. He was close up 4 off 142. Runs here off 130. I think this might have been the plan from him, and at this price I can't let him go off without a few bobs. So Whistle in the Dark for me.
That's the way we like it. Huge prices, far away from the obvious. That is what we specialise in on the Racehour weekend preview. And somebody who, whisper it quietly, but she has given the occasional big price winner down the years. Tanya, 240. The listed mares hurdle over the extended 3 miles. Fire.
Yeah, you've got to take a position, haven't you, here, where Spellbow, understandably, will be very, very prohibitive odds. But, comes with a big but. Last time we saw her win was quite a while ago, and it was a 3-runner race, beating Brewing Up a Storm and Miller's Bank. She's had 2 chase races so far this season, and they have been, to say disappointing would be an understatement. The one at Worcester, she was travelling well 2 out, and then she seemed to empty. That was probably contributed to that horrendous error at the second last. But then at Bangor, she just didn't like it at all, chasing, and she's either that or at the moment she's not in love with the game. So understandably, Dan's gone through the book and found, this is handy, we've got a listed mares hurdle, and he was hoping that nothing really turned up. But on the face of it, potentially he's so far superior. However, AP Keatley, Adrian Paul Keatley's been an absolute marvel with Gail Marler, who the last 2 times has taken on the boys. And I think it got really badly hampered by the Roxdown Girl last time out, but the form hasn't been frank. So I forgive Ozzini, no worries about that at Haydock. No one like that Quagmire at Haydock last time out. However, Henry Daly must be rubbing his hands together with Why Not, who has been overlooked here, I think, to some degree. 3rd to Golden Ace in April at Cheltenham, then came out and franked just how good she was after beating Golden Ace. She beat Anna Bonina in October, and then last time out, Why Not tried to take it up, seize the initiative and kick on from 4 out, only to be in the race with Hamsian. Oh dear. But was conceding lumps and lumps away. I think he was giving Hamsian £19 and in the end was only beaten about 5 lengths. That's a phenomenal effort. Okay, why not goes up half a mile? I don't think that's going to affect. And trying to judge the prices, yes, the superior animal on paper is West Balboa, but it hasn't shown that for the 2 chase races and the couple of hurdle races prior to that. Whereas Why Not comes in here spot on, running against some really key horses, and looking at the prices, you'd have to go with Henry Daly and Alice Stevens.
Did I know you wouldn't let us down? Absolutely magnificent. Fred currently 9-1 in that small field. You could have stayed safe and secure and steady and tipped up a 4 to 6, 8 to 13 shot, something of that nature. Not a bit of it. That just doesn't occur to Tanya Stevenson. 9-1. Why Not? Indeed. And a mention for the trainer of Why Not. She is prepared by Henry Daly, who himself, well, we mentioned Jenny Canvish having a great season. Daly, very much the same, because he's already racked up 16 winners for the campaign at a very respectable 17% strike rate. Paddy, we round off the live action 3:15 Doncaster with a handicap hurdle over 2.5 miles a furlong. What's your opinion?
Well, Altobelli, he's been a talking horse for a fair old while. Now, his hurdling technique was ordinary enough when he started out life over hurdles. Obviously, he'd been very, very taken and impressive in his bumpers. Sure, Harry Fry thinks that he's definitely got a bit of mileage in that mark of 130, and the fresh angle with him as well. He does go well fresh. We would have liked to have seen more of this fella, considering he's now a 6-year-old, but hopefully he turns up all well tomorrow. But he has got 11 stone 12 on his back, his fair share to carry here. Rex Dingle, the new man in the saddle. It's been Brian Carver who's doing most of the winning on this horse. Johnny Burke's had a few goals as well. His technique has gotten better, but just with 11-12 on his return tomorrow for a yard, you just can't gauge how they're running. Obviously, Harry Fry took all his horses out with the weather last weekend, but only 2 runners in the last fortnight, so a bit of a guessing game where they're at there, maybe health and form wise of the yard. And I'm going to go with the horse who I think is definitely on an upward curve in Deployed to Spy, because Keelan Woods, he's going up to Donny tomorrow with a real strong book of rides, and I think he's got a good one here. That mark of 125 obviously demands more, but I reckon with 11-7 on his back, it's a very compact handicap here, and I think Keelan will just keep it simple and let this fella roll along on the front end. He's by telescope. He certainly won't be lacking for any sort of stamina, this chap, but it's a real good race. Donald McCain is back here looking for another win in this race with Jungle Jack, but another one saddled with plenty of weight. 11 stone 13 could be vulnerable to some younger legs here, and I'm hoping, for me, that is Deployed to Spy, who's really on an upward curve, and that mark of 125 I'm hoping is not beyond him here, albeit this is his deepest water to date. But Deployed to Spy for me, but this is a real good.
And Fred offering a very healthy and respectable 5-1 about Deployed to Spy as we look towards this 3:15 Doncaster with the, tell you what, Paddy, I'm just looking as you've described that. They haven't kept him to look at, have they? You talked to Perth Aintree. He's on a 4-timer, this rapidly improving Deployed to Spy. As I put my teeth back in, I'm going to deploy you 3 to give us some weekend naps, because we always try and give you at home about half an hour of Racehour weekend preview goodness in conjunction with our sponsors. They are Betfred and Gambling.com, and we never leave without trying to summon a winner or two. We started with Gary, so we will finish the same. Gary Connolly, your weekend nap on December Gold Cup Day at Cheltenham. Any of those TV races, or indeed any of the shoulder races? What have you got?
I'm actually going to come this side of the Irish Sea for the weekend nap, and Fairy House on Saturday, the 102 handicap hurdle. I think Arch Enemy looks extremely well handicapped off hurdles mark at 96. She had a fruitful campaign in the autumn in Leopardstown, ending off a season winning a Premier handicap there. She's now on a career mark of 84 on the flat. She's very lightly raced off hurdles, so she's open to plenty of improvement And she just looks a nice horse to go to war with off our current reign of a hurdle. So I think she will go very close in that Fairyhouse handicap.
Pat McGee and Owen Walsh teaming up with Arch Enemy. Tanya, blimey, you've come up with some gold already today, including that 6, 7, 8 trifecta in the 150, the big race at Cheltenham. But if you could only pick one, who is it?
Yeah, I mean, part of me was going to go completely left field with similar story in the 113 at Cheltenham, but I'm going to use common sense, as I said in my column, and I'm going to go in the 225 at Cheltenham with Evan Williams' Liberty Hunter, whose first time up record is 3rd, 1st, 2nd. And okay, it was a fall, but it was a fall which potentially was at least going to be 2nd, if not win. Liberty Hunter was brilliant in the Grand Annual, and then they thought, oh, are we going to be a Grade 1 horse? Let's run in the Muggle at Aintree. And potentially you thought excited at about 33 to 1, only to be very, very badly hampered at the start. And your race, to some extent, is done. Then had to run round the outside. Harry Cobden couldn't drop Liberty Hunter in at any point, but in the end was only beaten 11 lengths, and if Ford had gone better, potentially that could have been half or even closer. He gets a huge allowance from Master Chewy, who I would be very, very scared of, more so had he not run in the Tingle Creek last week and was running so excitably. And yeah, he's going to be a proper horse, because he was ahead of Liberty Hunter in that race with Founder 50 and Master Chewy just battling it out. But Harry Cobden knows Liberty Hunter really, really well now, having ridden him in the Grand Annual and ridden him at Liverpool. And is a little bit more intimate, so he's not going to be carried out on the wide outside, hopefully. So unusually for me, I'm going for something quite short, Liberty Hunter, because he's such a beautiful-looking, imposing chaser as well. His big old noseband, and he jumps so beautifully. So let's see if he can step up and really challenge Master Chewy this time round.
Yeah, great stuff. Liberty Hunter, who of course won over that course and distance on New Year's Day this year. Paddy Aspell, if you can only choose one, and we won't give you two, so who is the best? Because you've also given us absolutely stacks of good information. You mentioned Joyeuse, you mentioned Deployed to Spy, you mentioned obviously Gemirond and Madara in the big race. Who's it to be?
Well, I'm going to go Cheltenham, Tom, and I'm going to go in the 113 race here. And again, I'm going Team Skelton. And believe it or not, Dan actually let me loose on this mare when I called in for a stable visit. Coco Mademoiselle. She's a winning pointer. And the word I would use to describe her, or the two words I would use, she is old-fashioned. She's a big old unit. So the 11 stone 12 doesn't bother me here at all. She's by one of my favourite sires in Doyen, and there's no doubt, again, she was a bit of an eye-catcher on her chasing debut. She's pitched straight into a handicap here, and she's her second go off a mark of 1-2-2, but she is in against her own sex here, and I definitely think that she is going to really climb the ladder over fences. Coco Mademoiselle, wait till you see her in live shots tomorrow. She really, really does fill your eye. And although this is a very, very deep race, and as I've mentioned, 11 stone 12 to carry, Harry is happy to ride. Dan's not want to take any weight off her back. I think she could take a bit of beating there with a clear round. So Coco Mademoiselle is the nap. And could I also mention a cheeky one a bit further up the A1, if you don't mind, please, Tom, at Newcastle, at a much, much lower level, but a horse who I definitely think there's a bit of mileage in. It's in the boys' race, the 11:42, so you've got to be out of bed and be sharp tomorrow if you want to catch this fella. And Chris Grant is having by far his best ever season. 3 from his last 8 horses have won. And Glory Heights in the late John Wade colours, although he only won by half a length last time, another one who went the whole run in with his ears pricked, doing absolutely nothing under William Maggs, who again is in the play tomorrow, still only competing off a mark of 89. This is a very, very lightly raced horse for his age. So Glory Heights for me. He hasn't got any future entries after tomorrow, but it is a boys' race, so he'd be unpenalised if he did. But Chris Grant, horse is very, very fitting well at the minute. That was just a little bit of a cheeky one away from the main action as well tomorrow.
Well, I tell you what, this is the Racehour Weekend Preview, the show where we really do set out to leave no stone unturned. Brilliant stuff. As I said at the front of the programme, it is going to be a perler of a Saturday. I hope that little basket of information helps. But from Gary, from Tanya, from Paddy, and from myself, and of course, with big thanks to our sponsors, Betfred and Gambling.com, that's all we've got time for this week. But as ever, we'll be back in the same place 7 days from now. Good luck. See you then.